local supplier, then make sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday 10 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Ohio are safer than ever before. And that's something I really love.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
We thank you for joining us for this special presentation of Western Reserve Radio. And we now return to our...
It is time for another episode of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio, Season 4, Episode 2137 in the can so far, as this episode presented by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org for more information. Find us on Facebook, Western Reserve Radio, on Twitter at WR_radio. Download the Live 365 or TuneIn app, or go to westernreserveradio.com, all part of the iMeda1 network. Going to talk some baseball on today's show, and for the first time here on By All Means, we are joined by Scott Leo, the play-by-play voice of the Columbus Clippers. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
So let's jump right in. I got a lot of questions for you, of course. The Clippers home tonight against the Louisville Bats. The Clippers are 30-26. They've won 3 straight. So I read on the website you've got a big leaguer on rehab to start today. Does that make game day any different for you than a normal day when there's a big leaguer on rehab?
Well, not as much as it used to. In the old days, when I was kind of doubling as the media relations person, we would have interview requests, or if it was a really big name, they might have a little bit of a press conference in the dugout where we'd have the local media come out and see it. In terms of game day preparation, not a whole lot changes. For those that know a little bit about the broadcasting business, and I'm sure you know this, Mark, as you kind of get further up the ladder in terms of who you're working for and what you're broadcasting, there's actually more information available. So whenever you have a big leaguer, the nice thing is we can go right to the Cleveland Guardians media guide. We can pull up lots of information to talk through. And then, you know, part of the equation whenever a major league player comes down to rehab is what is their return to the big leagues plan? What's the program? So if it's a pitcher, how many pitches are they going to throw, or how many innings? What is the big club looking for from them to get them back in the major leagues? If it's a hitter, sometimes they don't play a full game in the field, so they might get 2 or 3 at-bats and then be pulled out of there. So we like to know that information up front because, Mark, number one, it makes us sound smart if we can talk about it on the broadcast. And 2, we're not taken by surprise if a guy leaves after 5 innings. We know that that was the plan all along.
So a couple weeks back, I had Jim Clark on, who's been with AA Akron for a long time, and we started talking about Gavin Williams, and I know he's been up at the AAA level for a few starts now. First off, what have you seen from him so far since he's made the jump to AAA, and what do you think he needs to work on to take the jump now to the big leagues?
Well, I think one of the big things is always consistency, and you'll hear Terry Francona talk about this almost every single time he is asked about a minor leaguer and when's this guy going to be up here. The word consistency seems to get used all the time. And for Gavin Williams, I mean, all the tools are there. We just saw him pitch in Iowa the other day, and he had 9 strikeouts through 5 innings. AAA hitters are batting, I believe, 168 off of him in 7 starts. So the results are really, really good. And as funny as this sounds, sometimes you want to see a guy face a little bit of adversity. So how does he handle, days where his command maybe isn't quite as sharp, or how does he work through some situations where, he's dealing with some base runners. So it has seemingly been easy for Gavin Williams so far in AAA, but I've been most impressed by what I just mentioned. When he's had an inning where he's had to deal with a couple of base runners, being able to bear down, get a big strikeout, or induce a ground ball, I think has really been impressive from him. And I can't imagine there's a big, long list of things that Cleveland wants to see. It's just a matter of them feeling like he's consistent enough that they can put him in that Cleveland rotation, and they're not going to lose anything from what they have right now. In fact, it's going to be an upgrade.
Scott, you had a chance to see Bo Naylor play briefly last year and again this year for the most part at AAA. Fans continue to clamor for Bo to be up with the big league club. What is the difference you've seen, whether it's defensively or offensively, with Bo from last year to this year?
Well, I think he is an anomaly in terms of a catcher that has pop in the bat. He doesn't run poorly at all. He's a decent base runner. He calls a good game by all accounts. When you talk to the pitchers that work with him, they're confident in his ability behind the plate. They like throwing to him. Andy Tracy, the Clippers manager, speaks glowingly about Bo's abilities offensively and defensively. He went through a mini slump at the beginning of this Iowa series that just concluded, where one of those rare times where he looked like he was guessing a little bit at the plate. And it lasted 2 to 3 games, I would say, Mark. And then all of a sudden he figured it out. And so for him, I think the biggest difference or the best sign is that he is mitigating any struggles, and he's finding a way to get back on track as quickly as possible. He came back and had extra base hits in the last 3 games of the series. Clippers won all 3 games. He was pretty darn good behind the plate as well. And so I think that extra year of maturity helps when you get to the upper levels, AAA and the major leagues. You start facing guys that in some cases have logged a lot of time pitching at the highest level, and you've got to be able to adjust. It doesn't always come out formulaic. We talk about analytics all the time and sabermetrics and what does the computer say, punch it in the iPad and let's find out what's going to happen. Once you get to the upper levels, guys are able to go against the grain and pitch backwards. And just because you saw a 3-1 fastball last time doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to get now that you're playing at this level. And so I think his adjustments show that his baseball IQ is really high, and that he's a guy that, folks are going to see in Cleveland potentially for the long haul here pretty soon.
Scott Leo on the phone with us from Columbus as the Clippers get ready for tonight's matchup with the Bats from Louisville, in his 16th season behind the mic calling Clippers games. Scott, I'm going up and down the roster looking at some of the guys' numbers, and someone that's always intrigued me is Jhonkensy Noel, and the power seems to be there again, but the average below the Mendoza line. Can he be that future power bat that the Guardians have been looking for in their big league lineup?
If he can continue to cut down on the strikeouts, yes. But that's a big if, I think. And, I say continue because 2 years ago, he struck out in better than a third of his at-bats. I believe it was something like 37%. And then last year, he was able to get that number down below 30%. I want to say around 29. So the strikeout numbers were coming down. Now, this year, I mentioned Bo Naylor looked like he was guessing. We've seen Jhonkensy Noel fooled by a lot of breaking pitches. And when he gets a hold of the baseball, it'll go. But can he do that enough, here's that word again, consistently, to help the big club? And he's been taking some early swings in the batting cages. He's been trying to figure it out. His raw power is tremendous, and he has hit some absolute moonshots this year. The question is, can he do it on a regular basis to where the folks in Cleveland that make the decision say, let's get him up here, Let's get him in the lineup so that's a bat that opposing pitching staffs have to fear.
You look at some of those young arms that have come up this year from AAA, like Bybee and Allen, and you had a chance to see those guys pitch. Were you surprised at how well they've had success early on in their careers, making the jump to the big league level?
Not really surprised, just in part because we've seen it so many times now. Just during the time that Columbus has been Cleveland's AAA affiliate, which dates back to 2009, we've seen those guys that have come through and they're just locked in, they're doing everything right, and it carries over at the major league level. In some ways, it's kind of like that team with the hot hand, whether it's in the NHL playoffs that has the goalie that's really hot, or in the NCAA basketball tournament, the team that just catches fire at the right time. You see these guys that get to AAA, and they're at their best. I mean, their numbers are better in AAA than they were in low A or high A. They're better players professionally than they were in college, statistically. And those are the guys that have put in the work and that have listened to the coaching they're getting. And all of a sudden, they're kind of on that fast track where they end up in the big leagues, and they are the real deal, major leaguers that can stay and put together a long career. We've seen the reverse as well. And, without naming names, I mean, we've seen guys that show up in AAA and they're supposed to be the next big thing, and it just never pans out. Some of it is work ethic. Some of it is injuries. But, there's definitely a big difference. There's two different tracks where a guy goes and really makes a career of it in the major leagues. And sometimes they're more under the radar, lower draft picks, not even drafted, right? Those kind of guys. Maybe they were throw in on a trade that they're kind of an afterthought, and they get to the major leagues and they really help the big club.
Scott, we talked a lot about the big name prospects that everybody's familiar with, but what are some of the other names that, maybe they contribute and help for a playoff push this year, but maybe they're in the lineup in the next couple of years?
Sometimes that, Mark, comes down to what the big club ends up needing, because there are position players and pitchers on the Clippers roster that if folks go to the website, if you go to clippersbaseball.com, or you pull up the minor league baseball site and you start looking at statistics and you see that there's some guys that are having good seasons that maybe you've never heard of. And then the question becomes, if this continues, is there a need for them at that position in Cleveland? And, we've got a few of those guys right now that are putting together good campaigns, and they're kind of just waiting for their shot. In some cases, they could be waiting for their first shot in the major leagues. In other cases, they could be, hoping that the phone rings for a second or third or fifth time. And, it just comes down to whether or not the stars align, and the major league club calls down to Andy Tracy, our manager, and says, hey, who do you have that maybe we could put in the outfield every third or fourth day, or be a pinch runner, pinch hitter type guy that we could use? And sometimes that's how it ends up happening. But it's a young Clippers team, so that's a little bit different than some of the teams we've seen in the past, where you've got those guys that have been that are minor league free agent signings that have been in several different organizations. The Guardians have done a good job of kind of filling from the bottom up within their minor league system and keeping a fairly young, or in this case, maybe a very young Clippers AAA roster available to them.
When you look at some of those names, Oscar Gonzalez became such a fan favorite last year, struggled this year, got sent down to AAA. How is he doing? How has his swing looked as of late?
It's been good. I would say that it's, not to beat a dead horse here, but it's been inconsistent at times. And so, he had a few really good at-bats in the Iowa series where he was able to help Columbus with either, a big hit. He was able to draw walks, and so that's a good sign for him. He's not a guy that Cleveland has forgot about by any means. I think for Oscar, if he can put together some good at-bats on a regular basis and have, a good run, again, if that need comes about in Cleveland, that they haven't forgot about him. It's just a matter of whether or not he's doing it regularly and they have that need.
What about a guy like Brian Rocchio, who's gotten his opportunities throughout the year? Then you hear people that may not be really in the know talking about that he's pushing to take the shortstop position of, Rosario, who knows what happens with the contract situation. Do you think he's getting ready to be an everyday big league player?
I think that he has been really good for Columbus. And so I think that he's a guy that his teammates like a lot. He plays the game the right way. Again, another guy that Clippers had a good series in Des Moines this past week. I thought he played well. They like him at the top of the order in AAA. There's no question that, like in Brian Rocchio's case, they want to mold him or make sure that he is a viable option if it comes down to it and they need that guy every day in the big leagues. So they're preparing him, I think, for that. And then the question becomes, how does that option look versus Rosario with the contract versus going and getting somebody from outside the organization, right? You start to play all those options against one another as time goes on and it comes time to negotiate a contract or to figure out what things are going to look like come 2024. So I think they are trying to make sure that he is in the right spot and has the ability to prove himself to be that everyday guy if they need him.
Scott, appreciate you joining us for the first time. We are up against a break here, but to thank you very much for taking a few minutes before your broadcast tonight to join us to talk about some of the big names with the Clippers.
Yeah, no problem, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Scott Leo, the longtime play-by-play voice of the Columbus Clippers, in his 16th season behind the helm, one of just a small list of people that have called over 1,000 Columbus Clippers games in their career. The Clippers are 30-26, winners of 3 straight. They are at home tonight against the Louisville Bats. We'll be right back with more By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Accidents happen. That's why you need Repair That Glass. Specializing in windshield replacement and all other auto glass, we offer a full range of automotive glass repairs. Our technicians can do everything from minor chip repair to a complete replacement. Your windows don't go up or down, they can fix that too, along with custom glass work and antiques. Repair That Glass is a family-run business for over 40 years. Repair That Glass. Call for your appointment now at 330-534-3192.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
By All Means continues right here on Western Reserve Radio. Thank you to Scott Leo, who joined us for the first time on the show, the longtime voice of the Columbus Clippers. The show is always brought to you by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org for more information or to book your tee time today. Let's jump into what's trending, and what's trending off the top, of course, is the state champion Austintown Fitch Falcons softball team as they captured their first Division I state championship after beating Anthony Wayne by a final score of 6-1 at Firestone Stadium in Akron. The Falcons trailed this game 1-0 early and came back with 6 unanswered runs, capping off their undefeated season with their first softball state championship in school history. Sophomore pitcher Sydney Watts continues to roll 21-0 on the year. She had 12 strikeouts in the game. The Falcons finished the season 22-0-2. Also, congratulations to the Canfield softball team, who was beat in the state championship game earlier in the week, but capped off a fantastic season for the Cardinals softball team. Other news involving the Falcons, as a Austintown Fitch junior cornerback Devon Pritchard verbally committed to the University of Pittsburgh. He made that comment over the weekend on his social media. Last fall, he finished the season with 5 interceptions, 8 pass breakups, and 32 tackles, and was named second team All-State last season. He will be a 3-year starter for the Falcons this year and chose Pitt over the likes of Boston College, Maryland, Coastal Carolina, Akron, Buffalo, Kent State, and Western Michigan. That was also a very successful week for the track and field teams throughout the Valley, as several student athletes brought home state championships. First off, the Valley Christian boys 4x100 meter relay team won the Division III state championship at Jesse Owens Stadium in Columbus. The Eagles finished with a time of 43.13 Saturday at the state and track and field tournament. It is the 3rd straight year the Eagles relay team has come home with a state championship. So congratulations to the Valley Christian boys 4x100 meter relay team winning the D3 state championship. More state titles continue to come home to the Valley over the weekend. United locals Caleb Nastari won the Division III boys 800-meter run at the state championship meet in Columbus. He broke the Division III state record with a time of 1 minute 48.31 seconds and finished with the fastest 800-meter time in state tournament history, while also running the fastest 800-meter time in the country at the high school level this season. Congratulations also go out to Maplewood's Kelly Richards, who took first place in the D3 girls 3,200-meter run, posting a time of 10 minutes and 53 seconds. Her 3rd consecutive state championship at the D3 3,200-meter level. And Howland's Connor Durrick won the state championship in the boys D1 high jump with a measure of 6'9" in his state championship jump. So congratulations again to the Valley Christian 4x100 meter relay team. United locals Caleb Nastari, the Division III boys 800 meter state champion. Callie Richards, the state championship in the girls 3,200 meter in Division III. And Connor Durg, the Division I boys high jump state championship. Taking it back to high school football for a moment, a former Cheney product and University of Pittsburgh quarterback Matt Kavanaugh is on the ballot for the 2024 College Football Hall of Fame. He is among 78 players and 9 coaches that are on the ballot, a total of 101 players and 32 coaches overall in all divisions. The voting will wrap up at the end of the month. Kavanaugh, who played quarterback at Pittsburgh, was a 1977 first-team All-American who led the Panthers to a 1976 national title. He led Pitt to 3 consecutive bowl wins, earning MVP honors in the 77 Sugar Bowl and 77 Gator Bowl. So congratulations to former Cheney product and Pitt quarterback Matt Kavanaugh, who was among 101 total players and 32 coaches who are now up for nomination for the College Football Hall of Fame. Turning our attention towards Major League Baseball, the first place Pittsburgh Pirates, let me say that again, the first place Pittsburgh Pirates came back from trailing 3-0 to the A's last night at PNC Park, and the Pirates recorded another victory. I believe that is their 6th straight. as they will host the A's again tonight, as it will be James Caprillion on the mound for Oakland. He is 0-6 with a 8.12 earned run average. Mitch Keller will get the baseball for the Pirates on a path to being a potential National League All-Star. Keller is 7-1 with a 3.25 earned run average on the season so far. So the Pirates continuing this 3-game series against the A's, and they will wrap that series up tomorrow with a matinee before having the day off on Thursday. But it's been an interesting year for the Pirates. It's been so up and down. And after having such a great April, we were talking about the magnificent start to the season for this team. May was absolutely atrocious. And now the start of June, the Pirates have kind of bounced back with a slim lead over the Milwaukee Brewers. And when you look ahead on the schedule for the Pirates, again, Oakland today, tomorrow, a 3-game weekend series against the Mets. 7:05 Friday, 4:05 Saturday, 1:35 on Sunday. And then after a long homestand, they will head to Chicago for 3 and Milwaukee for 3 next week. So it is a good stretch of games right now for the Pirates, and some games that we'll find out, just how good this team is going to be. And it's early. We're not even to the All-Star break yet. But if you're a Pirates fan, you got to be happy with a team that lost over 100 games last year. And now you're in June, early June, but you're in June and you're talking about being in first place in the National League Central. The Guardians, they were off last night. They come home to play Boston for 3. The Red Sox come in at 30-30. The Guardians 27-32. It'll be James Paxton making the start, just a couple off the IL. He's 1-1 with a 4.26 earned run average. Shane Bieber gets the baseball for the Guardians, 4-3, 3.72 his ERA. But let's face it, he struggled more than we're used to seeing from Shane Bieber in his last outing. So we'll have to see how he bounces back against the Red Sox tonight at home. Typically, Bieber pitches better at home than he does on the road. All night games in the series against Boston Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, before 3 big games against the Astros this weekend, 7:10, 6:10, and 1:40. And the Guardians announcing yesterday some special ticket prices for those 3 games. So make sure to go online and check that out if you're looking for something to do. I mean, you go back to the last homestand that the Guardians had. In that homestand, they had over 90,000 in those 3 games. So I'm not saying I expect 90,000 every weekend, but it's nice, even when the team is struggling, to see the fans come out and enjoy a good night of baseball. And we'll see how they do. Didn't go so great when they went to Fenway to play earlier in the year. But this is a team that's starting to get healthy. And you look ahead with Bieber scheduled to pitch tonight. Tanner Bybee gets the baseball Wednesday. And then Aaron Savali, who threw the ball really well in his first start off the IL in his last outing. A 1-1 record, a 2.40 earned run average for Savali. And it hasn't been pitching because, let's face it, the young players have come up. Logan Allen, Tanner Bybee, these guys have come up and thrown the baseball well. Now you get McKenzie and Savali back, and boy, Tristan McKenzie, Sunday afternoon, could you have asked for anything more from him? 5 strong innings, 1 base hit, 1 walk, 10 punch-outs. And it was interesting to see, and I don't know if it's the fact that he's just kind of ramping this season up now off the injury, if it's a change in mechanics, or he was just excited to be back because the velocity numbers for Tristan McKenzie were way up. You usually see, 91 to 93. We saw 94, 95, some 97 on Sunday from Tristan McKenzie. So it's good to see the rotation, for the most part, getting healthy. Cal Quantrill obviously going on the IL when they brought McKenzie up, along with several other moves in the roster. But it hasn't been pitching that's been the problem. They've been amongst the best pitching staffs in baseball. They've been among the best bullpens in baseball. The problem has been putting runs on the board. If this team scores 4 runs, they're going to win a lot of baseball games. But it is not easy. It is not easy at all for this team to get to 4 runs, especially when the heart of the lineup, Jose Ramirez, the heart of the team, has been struggling this year. The power numbers are down. The RBIs are down. And so much pressure on him, too, to be able to produce, to make this offense go. And the numbers are good, but they are not just exactly what we expect them to potentially be from a guy like Jose Ramirez this far into the season. We've got another timeout coming up here on By All Means, presented by Mill Creek Golf Course. When we come back, we're going to dive into some semi-pro football, as we're going to be joined by our old friend Jesse Caldwell, owner of the Cleveland Cobras. That's next on By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted Par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier. Then make sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamp-colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time. Mill Creek Golf Course has been the Valley's leader for golfing fun since 1928. It features 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross and was voted a top 30 municipal facility by Golf Week in 2012. The Mill Creek Golf Shop is a certified Callaway Golf custom fitting center and is stocked with your favorite golf apparel and accessories. Mill Creek Golf Course is now booking tee times for this year's golf season. Please call us at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh, my friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
By All Means continues right here on Western Reserve Radio. As always, brought to you by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org for more information. Time to go to the phones. Our friend Jesse Caldwell, the owner of the Cleveland Cobras, is on the phone with us. And I know
Mark.
It's always good to catch up with you, but especially when you're 2-0, you got to be feeling pretty good.
We are. I was trying to think the other day, the last time we were 2-0, and it might have to go back to 2015.
Yeah,
and you remember what year that was?
Yes, I definitely
It's
do.
the championship run year.
Yeah, that was a fantastic year. And you know what? This year, it's been interesting. It's kind of reminiscent, too, because the defense has been absolutely fantastic so far. I mean, you look inside the numbers so far, and you're giving up less than 5 points a game right now.
Oh, it's that defense is just a physical explosion. And we haven't had everybody together yet in the two games. So I'm hoping this week everybody's there and we'll see a whole different defense.
And you look at the defense giving up 4.5 points per game. The offense, about 17 points per game. It seems like the defense kind of carrying things early on, and the offense is doing enough to win you some ball games.
Well, we have a 65-man roster, and our depth is just crazy. We've got 8 offensive linemen, and our offense right now, the line is probably one of the best we've ever had. It just missed opportunities. If you remember in Saturday's game, on that first drive, I think the first play, we had a shot down the line, and it just came up another step or two short of being a touchdown to start the game off.
If you can connect on a couple of those big plays, you don't know what is going to happen. When you look at it overall through 2 games, you played 1 game in the league, you played 2 games overall. What's your overall thoughts on how the team is playing as a unit?
Well, their defense is just outstanding, and I think it's just going to get stronger as the year goes on. And we scored this week, and we also had a pick 6 called back Saturday by a block in the back, or it would have been even more. That defense is just going to be crazy. And that, like 2015, it carried us throughout the season. Our offense will get it going. As that line builds and we get more chemistry together as the season goes on, we'll be fine. I expect just more things this week out of that offense, and that defense, of course, will be even better as long as we get more of our starters there. It'll even be more tremendous.
Let's talk about the league a little bit, Jesse. The Cobras, one of the founding teams of the Tri-Point Football League, now in its 2nd year. What's it been like for the organization since you made the move to be part of this new league?
Well, it's everything that I believe in. We're not an elite league. We're not a AAA league. We're a league that's very competitive with these teams from Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. We've got a few teams that it's the first year. We got a few teams that we're starting out. In some of these leagues, they don't have an opportunity for those teams to start and build like we once did, or like mostly everybody has done. If you don't have the opportunity, you can't do it. And as a league, we're giving the opportunity to these teams to help build them, help them, get them started, answer their questions, keep them going, help them out as much as possible. And basically, we all believe in the same things of trying to be a better league by helping each other, which is kind of different than some of these other leagues that are more worried about being the best and being elite and being number 1 in the country. We're not like that at all. We all have the same feelings of having uniforms the same, the helmets the same, playing on good fields. having those fans and decent refs.
And when you look at it overall, you've seen a mixture of a lot of different things like that, depending the league, depending the time of year. And when teams are starting out new from the ground up, you've got to establish a roster. You don't have a lot of established players that you can call on, and you're just really learning how to play as a unit. And this gives you kind of time to establish things before you're worried about records or maybe how long can my team sustain at this level before things become dire.
Well, like some of these young teams are going to get blown out and at the beginning until they get their foot going and get everything figured out and they play together. It's going to be a while. Good deal. Thank you very much. Okay, good deal.
So let's.
All right, thanks. Sorry about that, Mark. I'm actually in the hospital as we're doing this. I had like a mini stroke yesterday at TIA, and they're finally releasing me today. And the doctor just came in to give me my release form. So
well, we could have rescheduled this if you needed to.
No. I've been sitting here since yesterday at 6:00. So I was actually excited when I saw this come up.
How are you doing then?
I'm doing fine. I had a little lightheadedness yesterday, and my motor skills are messed up. And I worked all day, and I got home, and I told my wife something was wrong, and she brought me to the ER, and I've been here since. So I'm fine now. They did a bunch of tests, and I'm good.
Okay, so it kind of surprised me with that. Let's talk about this weekend. You've got the Steel City Bobcats this weekend. Kind of give us a little bit of a preview of this matchup.
Well, the Steel City Bobcats have been around for a couple of years. They were a big playoff team in their league last year. And I think I want to say that they lost in their semi-conference championship. So this is a good team. In this league, we'll see how they compare to our teams. We know that they're a very aggressive team. Their ends are very fast. They have some DBs that are very good, very quick. We'll see how our defense handles their offense. We're hoping we're aggressive and we're physical, and we stop them like we have been doing teams. And we're hoping this weekend we figure out this offense and put some big points up.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the ends are that aggressive. If you can, potentially catch them with some quick hitting plays and some opportunities to take some shots downfield.
Well, that's the game plan, and then some. But yeah. We've been working on that since Sunday night.
When you look at that offense, and we talked about it earlier, you talk about a big offensive line. I saw some of the promotions, with the size of that offensive line. How has it been running the football so far on the year, or is that just a unit that's really starting to gel and come together?
It's starting to gel. I think we've had all three of our quarterbacks have played now behind this line in the two games. And I don't think they realize how much time at times they have because this line is that good. We have some of the best offensive linemen in the city of Cleveland on this team right now. E.J. Bibbs had been a tackle that's just been outstanding in Cleveland for years. And we've been chasing him, and we finally landed him this year. And he's been a team captain, and he's been very explosive. Some of the guys that we got another fella from Columbus who was on the Fire last year. Taylor Johnson, he's another tackle and guard, another big guy that has made some heads turn. We've got Tony Sweets and L.A. Back with us this year. Brandon Antel's back. Sam Bullock, who last year was our offensive coordinator and left us and then came back to play offensive line this year. DeAndre Carr, who's an old, for those that remember the MCFL days, played D tackle for us back in those days. Now he's an offensive lineman. So we feel that the offensive line is our strong point. Plus, we have some of the best receivers in the Cleveland as receivers. We just now got to put it both all together.
One of the things you talked about with this league is having good places to play. And you've been playing, the last couple of years at Garfield Middle School, and it's kind of become home for you. And it's one of those where there's a bit of a home field advantage playing at a place like that.
Oh, definitely. We've been there since 2009, and it's a beautiful facility. Last year, they had to redo the turf, So we had to play out in Medina, which was home for me, but a far drive for all of our inner city youths. But now that we're back in Lakewood, we had a decent draw, a decent crowd. I'm hoping that a few of these people saw what a great game we played and that big win. They go to work or they tell their family, and then we just get more fans and build on from there.
When you look at the schedule, we kind of talked through text a couple weeks back. There's not a lot of travel this year that you may have faced in years past. You've got, one game coming up here in a couple weeks. It's about a 4-hour bus ride, but all in all, that's not as bad as it's been for you in years past.
No, last year we had to go to Columbus. We had 3 bus trips last year. This year we only have 1. So I'm looking forward to going down to Port City, which is down in Portsmouth, Ohio. For those that are NFL guys, back in the late 20s, early 30s, Portsmouth had an NFL team, and actually in 1930, they won the NFL championship. And and that stadium they built in 1927 is still there, and we're going to be playing in it.
Wow!
So this stadium is almost 100 years old.
That's definitely some football history for.
Oh yeah, Jim Thorpe played on this field back in the day. So we're actually going to be walking on hallowed ground.
And you said this is the only bus trip for the team for the year?
Yes, correct. It's about 4 hours.
That's not too bad. I mean, you've played all over the place in years past, whether you got to go to Erie or Pittsburgh or we've gone to West Virginia before. You mentioned Columbus,
Last
Detroit.
year we did 2 trips to West Virginia by bus.
And it seems like the divisions in this league have really helped, for the most part, eliminate these long trips.
Oh, they have, and it's only going to get better. We had 10 teams last year, and this year we have 16 teams. So that 60% increase, of course, gives us more troubles and headaches, but it's all going to come out in the wash at the end of this season. And next year we're expecting to be even better.
So before we let you go and we get you discharged and feeling better for this weekend's game.
The nurse is actually here working on me right now to discharge me. So
what's a key?
Go right ahead.
You feel like if your squad does this on Saturday night, you've got a chance to beat the Bobcats and move to 3-0.
We do. Definitely. We have practice tomorrow, and a lot of guys, we have 45 guys show up for a walkthrough, which is crazy. Some teams don't even have 45 guys on them.
Right.
And we're going to be in pads tomorrow working on a game plan for Saturday where a lot of other teams won't be in pads either.
Whenever advantage
So
you can
we're
put
ready.
together.
What's that?
I said any advantage you can get to be prepared for an opponent, you take advantage of it.
Yes, sir, and we will. Our next, we're going to start running the gauntlet, the Port City bus trip, the 4-hour trip by bus. Then we play our old friends, the Gladiators down in Alliance. And then, of course, we get a break. And then we play the number 1 team that won the league last year at home, the Golden Hawks. And that's going to be the big game.
A challenging set of schedules. Jesse, feel better, and we will talk to you this weekend.
I'll see you this Saturday. Thanks, Mark. I'll see you later.
Jesse Caldwell, the owner-operator of the Cleveland Cobras. You can hear all of those games, of course, right here on Western Reserve Radio. Jim Craven, Bob Gessler, Dave Ferris doing a fantastic job on those. And you saw the great video they had for last week's game as well, as the Cobras look to go to 3-0 on the season and 2-0 overall in league play. With a big matchup for them this week against the Steel City Bobcats. Then that long road trip next weekend. And you never know what's going to happen from one week to the next. But that is a deep squad with a lot of talent, especially on the offensive line and the defensive side of the football. If you're holding teams to less than 5 points per game, I don't care if it's only 2 games through the year, you've got a defense that's putting up some really, really impressive numbers on the season. And we'll have that game for you coming up on Saturday right here on Western Reserve Radio. It was a busy week last week with the Cobras and high school softball state championship games. In the semifinals you heard here on Western Reserve Radio was part of the OHSAA Radio Network. Thank you to Tim Street for letting us be part of that. We'll take our final break, come back and wrap things up on By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you can miss a lot.
Mark, you're 100% right. He does not get enough credit around the league. He gets, obviously, Coach Calhoun and the assistants and the rest of the players here at YSU know how valuable he is. He is right now their best player on the floor, hands down.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Ohio, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Time to wrap up today's edition of By All Means, Season 4, Episode 20, halfway through the 2023 year of By All Means here on Western Reserve Radio, part of the iMeda1 network. Thank you to our guests for today. We heard for the first time from Columbus Clippers broadcaster Scott Leo. Scott's voice may sound familiar to you here on Western Reserve Radio. He is part of the OHSAA radio network, calling the football and basketball state championship games on the network. So you may have heard his games in years past here on Western Reserve Radio. We just talked to owner Jesse Caldwell of the Cleveland Cobras. They look to go to 3-0 on the season on a Saturday night as they host the Steel City Bobcats, who are 1-0 on the season. Jim Craven, Bob Gessler, and Dave Ferris will have the call of that game just before 7 o'clock here on Western Reserve Radio. So make sure to tune in for that. As love listening to the semi-pro football, love calling the games when I get an opportunity. It gets you excited knowing high school football isn't really that far away. Behind the scenes, we've been working on high school football already here as part of the iMeda1 network, working on putting our schedules together, working on booking games. Got all of our crews coming back together again for the upcoming season. So it should be another fantastic high school football season this fall. Also ironed out our agreement with Cumulus Media Youngstown that we will continue to simulcast games on AM 600 and AM 1240 coming up this fall. To thank you to Bill Kelly and Charlie Connolly, engineer Ben Schlegel, who will help us all with that. That is going to do it for today's show. For owner-operator Jim Craven, Dave Ferris, who is our IT engineer and executive producer, my name is Mark Means. You've been listening to By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio.